Good evening. I am Leanne Calvert, the Director of Recruitment and Retention for Bedford County Public Schools. Tonight's episode of Parent University will allow parents and community to get a glimpse into what learning for pre-K through 6 students look like from the perspective of our teachers, who have put a tremendous amount of time and energy to ensure our BCPS students are successful in the new learning model. Tonight I have with me Sarah Jackson, who is currently teaching kindergarten with our Bedford Connects, which is our 100% virtual option. I also have with me Ricky Lynn Cundiff, who's currently teaching 5th grade at Liberty Middle School and is seeing her students 5 days a week in person. I also have Sherry Weiss, who is the supervisor of professional learning with me today. So Sherry, I'm going to let you take it over from here.
Absolutely. Thanks, Dr. Calvert. Before we start asking questions of our 2 guest teachers, I really wanted to make sure that our families and communities are aware that our teachers in Bedford County had the opportunity to participate in a training module this summer to ensure that all of our teachers explored best practices for blended and virtual instruction. The training that the teachers received, they were able to examine best practices for instructional planning and instructional delivery, as they really thought about how they could best engage students in the learning process. Teachers were able to explore various technology tools and assessment strategies to determine what would be most appropriate to meet the unique learning needs of their individual student population. Strategies that teachers were able to explore within the training module were appropriate for them to incorporate into their teaching practice, regardless of whether they were going to see their students, every single day, traditionally in a face-to-face classroom, whether they're teaching in a 100% virtual learning environment, or a combination of the two. And one of the things that I really just want to emphasize before we get started with our questions is that the learning experiences that all of our teachers are creating and providing for our Bedford County students are rich and varied. And we just wanted to make sure tonight that our families had the opportunity to kind of get a glimpse into what's occurring in our classrooms or in our virtual learning spaces, and so that our families would know how they could best support their student this year to make sure that they had a successful school year.
Okay, so I'm going to start off with the questions. First question, regardless of whether you're a socially distanced traditional classroom or a virtual classroom, how have you and your colleagues still worked to build meaningful relationships between students and create a positive classroom culture? Whichever one of you, Sarah or Ricky Lynn, whichever wants to go first.
I'll answer. I'm the virtual teacher, and so I'll tell you from that perspective. We've done a lot of get-to-know-you activities. I know throughout the grades that was something big at the beginning of the year, just like you would in-person learning. And we also sent out videos of ourselves and some slides about ourselves so students could get to know us. Then we continued that with morning meeting time, just like we would in the classroom. We usually would be in your circle in the classroom. Well, on Zoom, we're greeting each other by name and doing fun name games as well. So that's been something. Another positive thing was when we were testing, we were doing that with a one-on-one Zoom. And so we really got to see the students daily as we were testing and got to know their personalities that way. A lot of grade levels are planning together. So one teacher will have a video that they share for math, and then another one might share one for science. And so the students are seeing all the teachers in the grade level. And I think that kind of makes it feel like a school building, a school feel where we're all learning and working together.
Great.
Yeah, so I am doing the 100% in person. And so we're not having to necessarily record videos all the time. But at the beginning of the year, we did record videos with our triads because our classes are being taught in kind of 3 different groups. And so that was a great way for the parents and the students to get to know us. And what's unique about Liberty is that all of the students were new this year. So they really weren't sure where their classroom would be, where they would go, and the staff did a great job of providing tons of videos for families to make them feel more comfortable. In terms of like the classroom culture though, we've really talked about diversity and the acceptance of similarities and differences and how it's great to have both. And this way students have been able to make a lot of connections with each other, and we're combining 4 elementary schools into 1 middle school, so they don't know a lot of the people in their class, but it's been a really unique experience. So far, so good.
Great.
Okay, the next question we wanted to ask you all, and Ricky Lynn, if you want to answer first this time.
Okay.
What ways has your instructional delivery changed this school year? And what ways has it remained similar to past years?
Okay, so I'm still doing many of the similar things as I have before, but instead of using interactive composition notebooks, I'm actually doing them online through Google Slides and then posting them to Canvas, which is the platform that we're using. Many of the other teachers have done this as well, and the hope is that by doing this, they're feeling more comfortable with remotely if we had to. Again, we're not doing everything 100% online, so we're still doing task cards or scoots. The students are wearing their mask while we're doing that, but we're also still doing small group instruction, so we're still getting to know them, know their reading levels, know their math facts, still getting that personalized instruction. So we're trying to do a good blend of online and then the paper pencil stuff.
Yes, for me, the delivery has definitely changed as everything is through Canvas, and we're able to put all of our lessons there and a lot of pre-recorded things. And then we also have Zooms with the students. So we have both of those going on, which is different than in-person learning for sure. But we're still able to cover the same objectives. We're following the same county pacing guide so that students, if they were moving back and forth between in-person and virtual, are covering the exact same things in their grade levels.
Great. Okay, I know students were out of school for approximately 6 months. So as you find that students may be falling behind or not grasping a concept that you are teaching, how do you work to provide reteaching or remediation opportunities to these students?
I think that's definitely something that we've had to think about. We're lucky that we have some resources through the county like IXL where you can send out to students a specific skill to work on. So we've been able to do that. Definitely our small groups are focused on specific skills, and those have been real successful online as well. And also individual Zooms, as we're testing and doing assessments online, we'll see students that need extra support, and we can do that through individual Zooms. I know there's a reading specialist that's going to be working with some of our students coming up as well. And so we have lots of support for students online.
And in the classroom, it's very similar. We still are using IXL as well for remediation. But one really cool thing is 4th and 5th graders are actually grouped on their reading levels this year. And so because of this, teachers are really able to go at the pace that the entire class needs. So moving slower in some content areas where needed, or moving more quickly through material they already know. So remediation has looked a little bit different. But again, we are using a lot of the tech tools that Sarah said, like IXL.
Perfect, thank you all. And I know one of the other questions that many of our families may have in our community is we know that our school day has been abbreviated this year. And so how are you all both ensuring that all of the required content that students need to be responsible for learning, how are they still getting access to that material with the shortened school day?
So at Liberty Middle, we've done a few things. One is we've actually really talked to the grade levels below us and above us. We've really talked with the ones below us to figure out exactly what wasn't taught last year or what topics they feel like the general class kind of struggled with. And then we've also talked with the grade levels above us to figure out what they really need for next year. And then from there, we've made pacing guides and different layouts for what we really need to teach for the year.
Right, for virtual, their day is very flexible, but they're still getting every subject, so they can just work on that at their own pace. So they have each subject each day. They're learning through live lessons and recorded lessons, and through games, exploration, even virtual field trips. So we're sending a lot of things out that they can do on their own time, but it is covering all the subjects that they would have in school as well.
Excellent. Okay, how have you and your colleagues communicated learning expectations to your students and families so that they will know how to be successful this year?
We've definitely had to think about how we're putting our lessons up on Canvas, especially for younger grades. We've planned, and a lot of us have a single button that they have to click for the day. So they have a daily button that takes them straight through all their lessons. And there's even a stop sign at the end. So they know a lot of times that they've finished for that day. Another thing that we've been using a lot is Classroom Dojo to send in some of their assignments. And one thing that's been really helpful with that is that it kind of creates a portfolio. And so everybody can go back and look at all of the work that they've done throughout the whole year. So as a teacher or as a parent or student, you can see all the things they've done, and that really will show their progress throughout the year too.
And just like Sarah said, we're also using Class Dojo as our main tool for communication. This is a great way for us to communicate with them about events or assignments or just anytime we really need to talk to them. In terms of the beginning of the school year, though, instead of having like a back to school night or an open house, we did call each parent and talk with them, gave them any information they needed, worked through some of the concerns that they had, explained to them some of the new policies because of COVID. And I think that really set a good foundation for the year.
Right.
Absolutely. So I know that this year has brought a lot of challenges and changes to both our teaching staff and our families and our students. And so what we'd love for each one of you to do is to share kind of significant success this year, because I think we sometimes just hear the challenges, and we want to make sure that we also take time to hear a success story from each of you.
Yeah, so for me, it's not very one specific success. It's a general. I really feel like we've done a better job of incorporating writing because we've had smaller class sizes. We're able to really understand where each student's writing levels are and giving them very specific feedback, which is something that I have found that we have done better with this year than in the past.
Great.
I would say just the cohesiveness of our online team. I feel like we're all working together to provide education for everyone and be very successful. And talking with other teachers, I think our small group Zooms have been one of the biggest successes. It really feels like you're back in the classroom. The students are getting to know each other and interacting just like they would maybe during a reading group in the classroom. So those Zooms have been very productive for students.
Great. So finally, we'd like to end with this question. What advice do you have for our families as they strive to support their students during this academic school year?
I think it's just important for everyone to realize there's a big partnership between everyone, teachers and students and parents alike, that we're all working together to help our students this year. And constant communication is important so that we're all able to do that. Another thing I think we would say is, although it can be flexible online, it is great to give students a schedule. Students really thrive on that. And then for at-home learning, they need a quiet place to work. And then especially in younger grades, they will need an adult to help them through some of those lessons. So it is a time commitment for everyone, but a good partnership with everybody together.
Yeah, I would agree with Sarah. Another thing that in-person teaching, we've really encouraged parents is to just send their child to school, one, and then two, to send them with a positive attitude and being ready to learn. We're all going the extra mile this year, and so it makes the day a lot more meaningful and special when the students come to school with a very positive attitude and they're ready to learn.
Great. Raylan and Sarah, thank you both for giving us your time today and being willing to talk to us about the 2021 school year. We also want to thank all of our BCPS pre-K through 6 teaching staff for all that you have done this year to ensure our students' academic and social emotional needs are met. And families, we hope that by sitting down with these two teachers today, you feel that you've gotten a glimpse into the virtual and face-to-face classroom to hear how your students are continuing to be challenged and supported by their teachers. Everyone was working extremely hard to ensure that your child is progressing.
And parents and families, we hope that you will plan to join us on our next episode of Parent University, when we plan to sit down with 2 teachers from the grade 7 to 12 grade band to examine some of these very same questions and issues as we get insight into the learning opportunities that our secondary students are experiencing this school year. always, we want to thank you for all that you do to support your student and your continued support of Bedford County Public Schools. We hope you have a wonderful evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.